Hello, today I'm going to play and record a game. I'm playing with the black pieces on Lichess. The opponent played the g3 opening, and we're gonna probably have some closed position right now. In these positions, I usually go for the closed setup that somewhat resembles the Slav opening. White hasn't yet committed to how he's going to challenge my center, but this sets the intention to prepare either e4 or c4 as he played. With the move h6, I had created an escape square for the bishop in case white decides to chase it. With knight to h4 or knight to d4. There's several options here for how to set up the pieces, and for now I'm trying to be flexible. One option white had given me was to exchange on c4, and I guess that would have also led to the exchange of queens. Now this is a little strange. e4. Now e4 allows me to both win the pawn and exchange queens at the same time. I don't really think white has any compensation in what he's doing. So this is effectively an invitation for me to grab the second pawn. This also invites me to play something like bishop to g4, which will probably also lead to the exchange of queens. This has gotten a little sharper than usual very fast because white has decided to sacrifice a pawn. Several options here: take on d3 with the queen, take on d3 with the pawn, move the bishop, say, to h7, although that would give white back his pawn. I have to be careful about queen to d3, queen to b3, for example. Since the opponent played all this very fast, I probably have to anticipate some level of preparedness on his part. Queen b3 is here really the only thing that bothers me much. Honestly, do not see how I can be in much danger after this. So just intuitively, that feels like the right option. So then against queen to b3, I will still have queen to b6. This just felt like intuitively the right option for me at this point. So he captured, recaptured. So at best, it feels like white should be able to regain one of the pawns, but I do not see how he would be able to regain both pawns. So that is an attempt for sure. And the question I have is, how does he respond to pawn to d2? Problem is, after rook to d1, I take on c1, and his rook remains pinned, so he's unable to recapture on d8 with check. So d2 seems like it's winning on a spot. Unless I'm really missing something. It will at least capture a piece and bring me some serious dividends. I think I have to go for it. d2. The benefit of black's position is that it's very solid. And queen. That was the point, that the d1 rook now is pinned. This, on the other hand, does not appear to me to be very significant compensation. It feels like I have the option of giving up the f5 pawn, but even that is strictly not necessary. I could go queen to c8. Well, after queen c8, he can go queen to h3 and continue to bother me with. Feels like if I just give the pawn back and go for speedy development, I shouldn't have a problem. One thing to be worried about though is knight c5, is queen c7, knight b5. And if I recapture, he might be getting my rook on a8. So, however, down a piece, White decided to resign, and that's a reasonable option. I will not blame him for that, although I think a couple more moves would be handy for him to play. So notice that White spent less than a minute on this game, so I think it's not a very serious attitude. I wouldn't mind going to the analysis, although it's pretty clear that White went astray in different directions. Lichess allows to see the mistakes made by the opponent, and if the analysis is quick enough, I might be able to see it. But obviously, yes, e4 is obviously not a good move, and even up to here, there were still options for White. Although obviously queen to f3 drops a piece, and at this point his position is resignable. Even after d2, I suppose he should have just given back some material, given up the piece immediately. And in this position, it is indeed resignable. So this was a bit of a gift, but it shows that even in these kind of 10-minute games, careful analysis of all the options is useful for both sides.